Hello and welcome back to Where's the Bandwagon. My name is Will, and Rose, the first of the revived Doctor Who series, brought back the dashing Time Lord to our screens in 2005 and restarted a show that would bring us some of the best moments on TV. Over 16 years later, the episode still holds up and introduces a style and genre that would be the catalyst for all that was to come. So we've done an in-depth rewatch and breakdown of the episode while reading through the endless sites of trivia, production notes and plot hole fixes from the internet as we bring you a breakdown of every Doctor Who episode in the revived series. Before we even watch the first frame of the episode, it's important to note that this story takes place on March 4th to March 5th. This means the events take place just 3 months and 4 days after the Doctor revisits Rose for the final time in the End of Time Part 2. In the scene, the Doctor realises that this is the year Rose will meet him, and he's happy that she has those events to come, while they are memories of his past.
I bet you're going to have a really great year.
This is an almost exact situation that River Song finds herself in when she meets the Doctor in the library.
Hello, sweetie.
The Doctor has no idea who she is, and she is happy that she has those memories, and that the Doctor has all of them to come. The show opens with a new title sequence and graphics showing the TARDIS travelling through the time vortex. These titles don't show the Doctor's face. Eccleston is one of only a handful of Doctors not to have his face ever appear in the title sequence, a list that includes William Hartnell, Paul McGann, David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker. The title of the episode during production was originally Rose Meets the Doctor, or The Journey Begins, but was finally shortened to Rose. This would be the first time an episode would feature the name of a companion. The very first shot of the episode is Earth from space. This is an almost exact copy to the opening shot of a classic Doctor Who story called Spearhead from Space. Now, Spearhead from Space had a number of direct relationships with this episode Rose. One being that the Autons are both the enemies of the story. Secondly, they are both the first episode of their series. And thirdly, they were both the first episodes of a new incarnation of the Doctor, with Spearhead from Space being the third Doctor John Pertwee's first story, and of course Rose being the first time we see the ninth Doctor.
Run!
Both these episodes also symbolise big changes in Doctor Who. Rose is the first time we see the new revived series that would forever change the landscape of Doctor Who, while Spearhead from Space was the very first episode of Doctor Who to be broadcast in colour, a change that would one day eventually allow us to see all the many colours the Doctor would wear in his lifetimes. This opening shot of Earth would also be used as the first shots in The Christmas Invasion and Doomsday in 2005 and The Runaway Bride in 2006. We see a montage of Rose's everyday life, her alarm going off at 7:30, her travelling to work by bus, her at lunch, and her entire workday until closing time. This montage has quick cuts and edits which are similar to an editing style popular with a certain Mr. Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright was originally given the opportunity to direct this episode but was forced to decline as he was busy at work on Shaun of the Dead. While it would have been special to have such a unique and brilliant writer and director be involved in the revival, I'm also glad that he turned it down in favour of Shaun of the Dead, that really launched his career and resulted in him bringing us magnificent films like Hot Fuzz, Baby Driver, Ant-Man and The Adventures of Tintin. Although I do lie in bed every night wondering what a collaboration between Edgar Wright and Maury Gold would result in. The opening montage shows the viewer the day in the life of Rose, and we get the impression that it's pretty much the same every day. This makes the contrast between this life and her life after she meets the Doctor so obvious. It's a theme that will be brought up again when she thinks her life with the Doctor is over.
But what do I do every day, Mum? What do I do? Get up, catch the bus, go to work, come back home, eat chips and go to bed, is that it?
We also meet one Mickey Smith, a character that would eventually be a TARDIS companion and is one of my favourite characters ever in New Doctor Who.
Are you looking at me?
We also see a lot of shop window dummies. This just shows us how many there are in this environment, and it also plants the seed for classic Who fans that the Autons might return. Georgia Tennant, daughter of 5th Doctor Peter Davison, asked if she could audition for the role of Rose. However, she was turned down for her being too young at the time. Don't feel too sorry for her though. She would eventually be cast in the show rather fittingly as Jenny in The Doctor's Daughter, and also she married the 10th Doctor David Tennant. Oh, what a weird family tree that must be. As Rose gets out of the elevator, the up-tempo music abruptly stops, enhancing the little sounds we can hear and getting the audience ready for the spooky scenes that were to come. As Rose goes to investigate, the door slams shut behind her. This is a popular effect in horror films to show the protagonist getting shut in with no escape.
Did you just lock us in?
Yep.
The Autons come to life, and Rose's reaction is to think that this is people messing about, playing a prank.
You got me very funny.
Rose would keep this view and refuse to believe in aliens and living plastic throughout the majority of the episode. This lets the viewer know that the people living in this world have no idea about aliens and think that anyone that does believe in aliens are just conspiracy theorists.
Alright, he's a nutter, off his head, complete online conspiracy freak. You in?
Throughout the run of the next few series, the people on Earth will learn about the existence of aliens. Captain Jack in Torchwood famously says, "The 21st century is when it all changes." and by all accounts, in the years to come, the human race would learn that extraterrestrial life exists.
No denying the existence of aliens now, everyone saw it.
Whereas previous alien incursions were generally covered up or dismissed as hoaxes.
How can they do that? They saw it.
In 2018, Russell T Davies would publish the novelisation of this episode, which would include changes and elaborations on different areas. I'll be discussing these additions throughout the video. In this novel, when Rose meets Clive, Clive would tell Rose a theory that people's memories of previous alien encounters had been wiped by cracks in time. This is a continuation of the cracks in time introduced in season 5 of the show. A famous villain of Doctor Who is Graham Norton. The Irish comedian and TV show host has interrupted several live broadcasts of Doctor Who. When this pilot episode was being broadcast for the very first time, as Rose is being backed into a corner, a voice of Graham Norton could be heard over the top. Julie Gardner, producer at the time, immediately called the BBC switchboard and managed to resolve the issue before the Doctor could say his very first line.
Am I on the sofa or am I on the main out there? Where, am I here?
Run.
In the novelisation of Rose, mentioned earlier, Russell T Davies pays homage to this bit of TV history. In the novel, he describes a radio with an Irish host playing in the background of this scene. Later in season 5, one of the most intense scenes that would define Matt Smith as the Doctor was rather undercut when the BBC live broadcast showed a banner of a dancing, animated Graham Norton. He is more evil than the Daleks, I swear. The Doctor enters with his first line, run. Running is a major theme of Doctor Who.
Oh, I missed this.
In the minisode Born Again, set just after the events of The Parting of the Ways, the 10th Doctor uses this line to help convince Rose that he is the same man.
Very first word I ever said to you. Trapped in that cellar. Surrounded by shop window dummies. Ooh. Such a long time ago. I took your hand. I said one word. Just one word, I said. Run.
The preceding shot has the couple running down a corridor. Running down a corridor is a staple of Doctor Who, from Barbara running down the corridors of Skaro in the second ever story of Doctor Who, to the looping endless corridors in Heaven Sent.
Finally run out of corridor. There's a life summed up.
We also see the Ortons reaching out to the Doctor and Rose from behind bars, a theme that would be repeated just 2 episodes later in The Unquiet Dead. They make it to the elevator and the Doctor and Rose get their first dialogue. The Doctor gets Rose to explain her thoughts and reasoning and is impressed with her logical answer. This could be the first time in a while the Doctor has been impressed with a human and therefore is the first steps towards him accepting her and wanting her to be his companion. The Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver on the elevator, a theme that would come up again in World War III. This is the reintroduction of the iconic device that was first used in 1968 with the second Doctor story, Fury from the Deep.
What's that? It's a sonic screwdriver. Never fails.
The Doctor pulls out a frickin' bomb. The device looks very homemade and slapped together with tape. This is similar to other devices the 10th Doctor would create and use.
Ding.
Rose is told that if she tells anyone about what happened here tonight, she would get them killed. Throughout the rest of the episode, Rose obliges by keeping it from her mum and her boyfriend.
What was it, though? What caused it?
I wasn't in the shop. I was outside. Didn't see
It's
him.
Debbie on the end. She knows a man on the mirror, 500 quid for an interview.
Oh, that's brilliant. Give it here.
This could be another trait that the Doctor likes about Rose that eventually convinces him that she is worthy to travel with him. This all reminds me of the film Kingsman, where Eggsy is told not to tell any of his family or anyone about Harry beating up the thugs. When Harry hears that Eggsy doesn't snitch on him, he takes him to be initiated in the Kingsman recruitment process. Rose leaves and watches as her workplace gets blown up by the Doctor. The original preview trailers for Season 1 include a scene where the 9th Doctor is narrowly outrunning a fireball behind him down a concrete tunnel. This is likely set moments after he set off the explosives in this shop. As Rose is running away, she passes this strange police box. It's interesting that the TARDIS windows and the police public call box sign are not lit up here, whereas when we see it again, it will be. Maybe the Doctor has it parked in incognito mode. We get back to the Tyler's flat and Jackie is on the phone gossiping and loving the drama. In one line she says,
Walking in now, you think I was her daughter.
This reminds me of an attempt to pull off Jackie as Rose in the Army of Ghosts.
Just last week she stared into the heart of the time vortex and aged 57 years. But she'll do.
I'm 40.
Deluded. Bless. Allons-y, but not too fast. Our ankle's going.
I'll show you where my ankle's going.
Mickey enters and exits, taking the plastic hand with him. He jokes with the hand attacking him, reminding Rose of the experience she's just escaped from, and obviously foreshadows the attack the next day. Mickey playing about with a hand is something that later convinces Rose that the Doctor is messing about when he's getting attacked. She even comments about the similarity.
They're the same. Give a man a plastic hand.
As Mickey leaves, he throws the hand in this bin. 12 months later, Mickey would use these same bins to hide from the government in Aliens of London. The screen fades to black and goes to this alarm clock, repeating the start of the episode. Again signalling the start of Rose's day, but this time, instead of watching her take part in her usual day, we will watch her take part in a day now that she's met the Doctor, and see just how different her life is compared to before. The Doctor shows up through the cat flap. Initially, the Doctor was meant to stick his head through the cat flap, but it was abandoned when the cat flap turned out to be way too small. While Rose natters on about her crazy experiences so far, the Doctor takes a look around her flat. Picking up this magazine, he says,
That won't last. He's gay and she's an alien.
This line is incredibly funny, but it also more importantly points out to us, the audience, that there are aliens living amongst us in this world. It also introduces us to the idea that aliens can look like humans, like the Doctor, or that they can disguise themselves like humans, like the Slovene. The Doctor picks up the book The Lovely Bones and reads it in a flash. This quick reading is mirrored in The Time of Angels when the 11th Doctor does this.
Not bad, but slow in the middle.
And in the very first episode of classic Doctor Who, An Unearthly Child, back in 1963.
I'll return it tomorrow. Oh, that's not necessary. Keep it until you've finished it. I'll have finished it.
We've also done a breakdown of that episode, so go and check that out on our channel page. We then come to the mirror scene. This brings up an interesting bit of conversation and discussion about just how long it's been since the 9th Doctor regenerated. Most people take this line,
It could have been worse. Look at the ears.
to mean that the Doctor has recently undergone a regeneration, as he doesn't know what he looks like, so he's commentating on his face for the first time. However, others have countered that this doesn't mean he's recently regenerated, but that he's just too busy to look at himself, and there are no mirrors on the control room of the TARDIS where he spends the majority of his time. This can be evidenced in the 11th hour. After Tennant regenerates into Matt Smith, the Doctor doesn't go to a mirror to check on what he looks like, but just gets on with saving the world, and he's shown himself later in the episode.
Well, that's rubbish. Who's that supposed to be?
It's you.
Me? Is that what I look like?
You don't know.
Busy day.
A lot of people use the historic photographs that Clive will share with Rose as evidence that the 9th Doctor has been travelling for some time before this episode, as Rose joins the Doctor now until his regeneration, and he's by himself in these photographs. Therefore, they must have been taken before Rose joins him. In The End of the World, the next episode, the Doctor says,
I was on board another ship once. They said that was unsinkable. They ended up clinging to an iceberg. It wasn't half cold.
which shows that the Doctor has already experienced the Titanic, like in this photograph. Therefore, he must have gone on some adventures as the 9th Doctor before this episode. This discussion can go on forever with other convincing arguments that I don't have time to go into here. If you want to check it out, then have a look at the question on Google or Reddit. However, the writer of the episode, Russell T Davies, says that he doesn't think that this is a newly regenerated Doctor, stating, and I quote, "No, I don't think he's just regenerated. If you have certain physical features like big ears or buck teeth, you look at them and sigh every time you look in the mirror. And I think if you had 8 different faces, even if you'd been in this current form for 100 years, you'd still mutter at them." So it was meant as a kind of nod to the fact that he'd once had other faces. But I wrote the Titanic stuff and Krakatoa assuming that the 9th Doctor had been around for a while. He doesn't act very post-regeneration, does he? He appears in command, waving a bomb. This is a man who knows himself, and has known himself for a while. While watching this in 2005, you would have logically assumed that he regenerated from the 8th Doctor. It wasn't until 8 years later that we would learn that he in fact of course regenerated from the War Doctor in Stephen Moffat's Day of the Doctor. In the novelisation of Day of the Doctor, written again by Stephen Moffat, it includes text that says that the Doctor, after thinking he destroyed Gallifrey, smashes every mirror in the TARDIS so that he doesn't have to look at his face. This could provide a clever reason why he hasn't seen himself in potentially a long time. The Doctor also remarks on his large ears. This disobeys the previous incarnation's request in Day of the Doctor.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
And also reflects the 4th Doctor's reaction at seeing himself for the first time.
As for the ears, well, I'm not too sure. Tell me, quite frankly, what do you say to the ears?
Thank you for watching this part 1 of the Rose Breakdown. Join me in part 2 where I discuss all the clues in Clive's shed, some more behind the scenes sneak peeks, and how the sonic screwdriver is affected by hairdryers. Part 2 will be out within 24 hours of me posting part 1, and it will be linked in the description below. Go and check it out because you don't want to miss it. What did you think of the episode? Is there anything we missed, or is there anything else you want to know about? Comment down below and I'll definitely reply. Subscribe if you want to see more Doctor Who content like this. I'm also doing a reactions and breakdown series of the classic episodes, so go and check that out. This is the channel of me and my friend Ty, where we talk movies and sports and games and pop culture. There will be a ton of Doctor Who stuff coming up, but why don't you check out some of our other topics and see if there's anything else you like. See you in part 2.